Hello, my name is Brian Evans, and I am going to review the albums in my collection that I've collected. I started collecting vinyl back right before the pandemic, and to this point, here in January 2025, have reached the 400 album mark, and was really kind of thinking, besides just listening to them and having them on the shelf, what can I do to kind of share my love of records, and was looking at maybe doing some reviews. I really enjoy watching album reviews here on YouTube, and so I saw an opportunity to kind of share my love of music and some of my thoughts with everyone out there as well. So chose a number randomizer and have my albums listed on Discogs, and the first number that came up was album number 72, which in the collection is the 1983 album Sports by Huey Lewis and the News. So I'm a child of the 80s, and Huey Lewis and the News has a very big nostalgic quality. And I remember buying this album back about 4 years ago, and just almost having it seem like a greatest hits compilation. Just many great songs on here. Songs that appeared in MTV music videos, were on the radio a lot, and probably my favorite song by the group is on this album as well. This was the greatest selling album of the band. It was their third release with the lineup of Huey Lewis and the News, and went 7 times platinum in the United States. Actually reached number one about 6 months after its release in June of 1984, and had several top 20 singles that was released on it. So we're going to kind of look at that and kind of highlight this record. I mean, Huey Lewis definitely has, um, you know, if you grew up in the 80s, he was everywhere. Um, Certainly, people that love movies and that type of media, the Patrick Bateman character in um, the movie American Psycho talks about this record, and so a lot of people can kind of think of that quotable moment from that film. But for me, it kind of takes you back to when I was young, watching MTV with my parents, listening to the radio, and just really enjoying a lot of the songs. And so when I listen to them now, it definitely has that nostalgic quality to it. So the band was from the San Francisco area, and the album cover and the back cover are actually photographs were taken in a sports bar that they frequented and played before they hit it big. You can see on the front cover they've got the San Francisco 49ers playing on the television. There's pennants from the 49ers and the San Francisco Giants on it. So it just kind of has that feel that kind of takes you back to that time, and was obviously very important to the group as well. Certainly Huey Lewis was not a normal pop star of the 80s, but interestingly enough, only the album Thriller by Michael Jackson sold more records and was bigger on the Billboard charts than this one in 1984. So it really kind of doesn't fit what you think of the mold. And when you listen to the record, there are a lot of different types of styles of music on the record. There's straight up rock and roll. There's the rock and roll that kind of has an older feel to it. You really kind of get a throwback feel, even for the 80s, when you listen to Huey Lewis and the News. He was not um, a musician and a group that was, necessarily synthesizer heavy as a lot of groups were in the 1980s, but they did use some drum machines and some artificial sound like synthesizers, at least in the background, to kind of create a more modern and listenable sound, which is it blends fairly well, I think, with kind of the more straight up rock and roll or rhythm and blues feel of many of the songs on the record. So the first single was actually released before the album came out, which was September, as we said, of '83. So Heart and Soul was released in August 30th, so just a couple weeks before the album hit the record stores. And it's probably my favorite of his songs. I do enjoy that song as it appears on the record. So I'm going to talk just a quick bit about the songs, um, and just kind of the feel of them. The album side one has 4 songs on it, and there's 5 songs on side two. The Heart of Rock and Roll is the song that opens it up. Was a big hit for Huey Lewis and the News. It reached number 5 on the top tracks, number 6 on the Hot 100 in 1983, and was the one of the songs that hit the highest position on the Hot 100. There were, all told, there were 5 singles from this record, and Heart of Rock and Roll hitting number 5 was the highest. Heart and Soul reached number 8. I Want a New Drug is on this album. It reached number 6. If This Is It reached number 6 as well. And then Finally Found a Home did not chart on the Hot 100, but charted on the top tracks, the rock tracks. It reached number 41. And then Walking a Thin Line was the last single released, reached number 18 on the Hot 100 in 1984. So Heart of Rock and Roll opens it up. It has that synthesizer sound, which creates a very steady beat in the song, and it's very tune worthy. A song that's really enjoyable to listen to. Has a great saxophone solo in the middle, which you got a lot of in the '80s, but don't hear a lot of now. So it kind of gives it almost, again, that nostalgic feel to it. Heart and Soul, which is actually a cover song, is the second song. That's my favorite song by the group Huey Lewis and the News. I just like the beat of it. Again, the beat was created by a drum machine to create a drum loop that gives it kind of that modern feel to it. But just very well sung by Huey Lewis. And again, a very unique voice Huey Lewis has, unlike any other that you can kind of think of in the '80s, other than maybe like John Mellencamp or somebody like that kind of has that smoky sound to it, a little bit of gruffness, and sounds older than he was. He was in his early 30s, but he sounds much older than that, and kind of careworn. And so it allows him to sing, I think, many different styles. There's some bluesy sounding songs on the record. There's some doo-wop sounding songs as well, and even a cover of a Hank Williams song. So Bad is Bad is kind of a bluesy number, which is the third song. Some very good guitar playing by the lead guitarist for the band, sung very well by Huey. And then I Want a New Drug inside one, which I think is a great song, kind of, to me, an unsung hero of the record. Even though it did reach number 6 on the Hot 100, it's not one that you hear quite as often as a song like Heart and Soul, or The Heart of Rock and Roll, or even This Is It, which is on side 2. To me, I Want a New Drug is kind of the lesser known of those 4, but I think is really effective, and it's one that I do enjoy. Anytime I hear it on the radio or it comes up on iTunes or whatever, I really do enjoy listening to it. Side 2 begins with a song called Walking a Thin Line. It is a song which a lot of people would have kind of felt the story behind the lyrics. It's a song that mentions dealing with the trauma of coming back from Vietnam, which is a common theme in a lot of rock songs in the early '80s. And I think it's fairly effective, and it did pretty well with the public. It reached number 18, as we said, on the Hot 100 in 1984. Finally Found a Home is second. I would call that just a straight up album track. It's not the most memorable, but it has a good beat to it. If This Is It is the third song on side 2. Again, a highlight, song that was played a lot on the radio. We said reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. A very enjoyable song, has a very doo-wop sound. The band backing Huey with some really good harmonies throughout the song. Again, just an enjoyable track, good lyrics, one that's easy to sing along with and hum to. And then the last 2, You Crack Me Up, not one of my favorites, probably my least favorite on the album. Kind of reminds me of something a Billy Joel would write. Kind of reminds me of the song that opens the album, Stormfront, in the late '80s by Billy Joel, that he wrote about Christine Brinkley. It's not a song that I enjoy too much. And then this interesting one that I had to listen to a couple times before I decided if I liked it or not, was Honky Tonk Blues, which is a cover of a Hank Williams song. Has a pedal steel guitar in it, which kind of gives it a country feel. But Huey Lewis does not have a country voice. He sings it with a little bit of a country yodel, but I don't know if I quite find him convincing. He tries to kind of sing with the mock Southern accent. Um, but I thought it was, it's a little different. It ends the record. The band plays extremely well. So I think that it was a good kind of end to the record. So, one that's very enjoyable. Um, I'm more likely to play the hits from the record than to play it side to side. It's one that I'm going to skip around a lot, but it's one I'm glad I have in my collection because it is a big landmark album of the early 80s. We said the second biggest selling record in 1984, and captures kind of a unique moment in music history when people singing Blue Eyed Soul and kind of that rhythm and blues sound of bands like Huey Lewis were very popular and becoming MTV stars. So not just on the radio, but television as well. So um, forward to doing many more. Would love to do all 400 records in the collection. Actually, already spun the wheel for the next album, which will be up, and that is actually an album by Andy Williams, which is called Love Story. So be looking forward to talking to you about that one for our first record view here in this series. Again, Huey Lewis and News Sports from 1983, released reached number one in 1984. Look forward to seeing you guys next time.